Right. All right. Truly, truly, the real you loves you because the real you is love. Well, good morning and good afternoon and good evening to everyone that is joining in on this session, this 130th session. We're really just moving on down the road or moving on up the ladder. And my name is Oliver Blue, and I'm delighted to be your host, your temporary guide today through this workbook lesson out of A Course in Miracle, workbook lesson 130, which brings an idea that is a follow up to yesterday's idea. And I look forward to seeing where this truth takes us today. And just want to remind you that these commentaries on the workbook lessons out of the course, and they don't need commentary if we just would embrace them for uh, what they contain. I mean, the language in the course is very straightforward. It needs no interpretation. It needs no support. It's self sustaining. However, we bring these commentaries as a way of aiding those that, especially those that are first, it's your first journey through the workbook lessons, but only to assist in your development, only to assist in your unfolding, your awakening, only to assist in your choice to advance uh, your experience of what is real and what is not. And so it gives me great pleasure to be that temporary um, voice, that temporary guide. And again, all of us have within us the one guide that guides all of us. This whole course is about turning us away from the voice of the ego to the voice of reality, from the voice of turning us away from the voice of fear to the voice of love. And there's a voice that is within us that comes out of our very own nature. And not a voice like you hear me talking, but there is a knowing. There is a knowing, there is an intuition that is within all of us. And it comes from that infinite place, that infinite nature that we all share. And this is all part of all of our process of being transformed uh, from this world, from the false, and being transformed to the new. And we do that by the renewing of our minds, by taking these uh, lessons each day and undoing a thought system or a belief system or a way of perceiving. We undo that because it only brought us what we um, did not want, and we install a new way of thinking, or a what we call the mind of Christ, or Christ consciousness, or what Jesus called, Paul said it in Philippians, let this mind be in you that was also in Christ. So that means there is a mind for us to operate in, that is called the Christ mind or Christ consciousness. That as we do this, we will have a direct experience of our Christ self. That is the goal. That is the desire of all of us. That's what every human desires, to know themselves as they were created by their source. And so today we're going to look at the subject, or the lesson today, or the idea that the course is sharing today, is that it is impossible. Notice now, it is impossible. That means if something is impossible, that means that in reality, It cannot occur. In unreality, it can occur. In a false state, everything can occur. But in a real, in that which is real, that which is unchangeable, that which is authentic, in the sense that it remains as it was created, it's impossible for it to change. So when we talk about impossibility, we're talking about a changeless state. We're talking about a changeless state. And on this grandest scale, the changeless state that we're talking about is the source of all creation, the source of all life. It's a changeless being, a changeless awareness, in the sense that it is what it is, and it is what it always has been, and it is what it always will be. And so when we look at um, grand terms like love or God, what we're saying is God is not a changeless being, but God is consistent. God is one. God is not fickle. Love is not that way either. It is what it is, and it changes not. God is, and there is nothing else, how the Course says. And so we're not used to our conditioning. That's foreign to our conditioning. We're used to all of the uh, multitudes of what changes and flux and flows, all of the vicissitudes, the 10,000 things. We're used to an environment of change where nothing is stable, where nothing is certain. That appears to be the world that we live in. That appears to be our experience. However, in reality, in heaven, in that which is what beyond time and beyond form, is a changeless state, which is what the Course said is our inherent nature. And so that's what we desire to experience. And so it is so the lesson again, or the idea today is, it is impossible to see, notice now, it is impossible to see two worlds. It's impossible to see two worlds. So the whole idea here is that what that there that in reality there's only one. But in unreality there is duality, meaning what? There's a separation, there's a split, there's an object and a subject. And but in reality there is no object and subject. There's only the one. There's only God. And in our truest state, we are part of that one God. So we're part of the oneness that is reality, that is changeless in our nature. And when we say our nature, it is at the very core of our identity. And when we don't embrace that reality, we create another what? We create another nature or another core, and so or we can't create it, we actually make it. Okay. And in the making of that, we make something that's totally opposite, which is called what? Separation or duality. And we claim that as our nature, and that becomes the lens from which we see, that becomes the lens from which we think and from which we see or perceive. And in our seeing, that becomes our point of view. And it's from that point of view that we interpret everything. Your perception is based on your point of view, or your point of viewing, how you see yourself, how you see the world, how you see all humanity, and how you get your develop your theological point of view of life itself. But the Course is offering us what it calls a miracle. And that miracle is a shift in our perception, or a shift in the way we perceive based on a point of view of reality or truth or God or love. They're all synonymous. And if you remember, right at the very beginning of our journey, 130 days ago, or 130 days ago, yes, we started. I did two introductory um, commentaries on how the course came about and who was involved and how we got this very precious document in our hands and made available to us. And there's a section in the preface that's called what it says, what the course says. In other words, if you read this part of the uh, Course in Miracles, the preface that talks about what it says, it basically, if you can understand and grasp the enormity of the ideas that are shared here in just this section, you get the you get the really whole uh, message of the course. You can come to an understanding of what the miracle is, or what the course in miracle is. And so under this section, what it says, it's a good place to set a foundation for the lesson for today. And if you look on in the section, in the preface section on page Roman number 10, it says what it says. And it says in conclusion, it says that what the course says is nothing that is real can be threatened, meaning nothing that is real can be changed or altered. It can't be threatened. There is nothing outside of reality that can impose a threat upon it. So, in reality, there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to be concerned or worried about. Reality doesn't worry. Reality doesn't fear. Reality is not threatened by anything that may appear to be opposite of what it is. It's like God can't be threatened because God is reality. Love can't be threatened because love is reality. And when we come to embrace that we're one with God and one with love, we come to realize that we can't be threatened. Jesus in his incarnation, he walked this planet for 33 years and he demonstrated that nothing real can be threatened. Why? Because he only embraced reality and nothing else. He denied and rejected the ego idea of separation. He denied and rejected the idea that God is an unloving father, unlike his brethren, unlike his nation, unlike the religion he was born up in, that made God in their own image to be some type of, God of wrath and God of judgment and punishment. That was the idea or the belief in the people of his day, especially the religious people. And so, but he embraced this reality that he was one with his father, one with reality, one with truth. He even said that he was the truth, he was the way, and he was the light. And he wasn't talking about his individual incarnate self, but he was talking about what was true, what was the one way, and what was the life was reality. That there is only oneness, there's only love. And he demonstrated that for 33 years for the most part and astounded the religious leaders of his time. And his wisdom, his understanding, his revelation that he brought to humanity has been the most impactful uh, contribution to this world. However, we know it's been misconstrued, misinterpreted, and used to further keep humanity in darkness. And that's why, I guess Jesus felt it's necessary now. What we need this? We need to take a course, man. We need to go to school and take a course in miracles, and thus we have this work that was produced in 1977 uh, in the hands of by the hands of Helen Schuckman and Bill Thetford. And so again, the core message here is that nothing real can be threatened. So we have to identify what is real. What is real? And we have to know what that is. And in many cases, we don't know what reality is. All we know is what we've been conditioned to or trained to know or to believe. All we know is what we have experienced. But all that we have been conditioned, all we have been trained, and all we have experienced is not all there is to know. We know that because, for the most part, our training, our experience, and our conditioning has led us into a place of what? Suffering, disappointment. Um, it's put this, it has created or made a world that is what I would say on the edge of night. And it's searching for tomorrow. And the world, what, as it turns, all the days of our lives, um, we what we know there's a better way, and so our desire for that better way is what brought us here to listening to these workbook lessons. And so nothing real can be threatened. So there's a reality that cannot be threatened. Do we know what that is? And then the second line says, nothing unreal exists. So if nothing real is threatened, then that means that there is no opposite to reality. And so that which is what unreal does not exist. In other words, it does not have the capacity to threaten that which is real. So it would have to fall into what the category of what we would call what false or illusion, meaning it would have to be something that was made up or dreamed up, as you might say, because it has no what threat, it holds no threat to reality. So in other words, the course goes all the way to the end and say what it does not exist. That which is unreal, really, it does not have its own existence. It doesn't have its own existence. It may appear as having its own existence, but it doesn't. So it's a false appearance, okay? And the course talks about it all through the text. It talks about the appearances of this world. This world, what gives off an appearance that is real. What we see with our what so-called natural eye appear to be what very real. But everything is what not as it seems. When it's perceived through the eyes of what? Separation. And so nothing real can be threatened, okay? That's the category that we're in. But we don't see ourselves that way. Why? Because we see a world that threatens. We see a world where we are vulnerable. What is a huge threat to our what? Existence. And so that means that what we're looking through the lens of not reality, of that of unreality. It says nothing unreal exists. It says herein what? Herein these two truths, or herein this one reality. It says this is where the peace of God lies. This is where the peace of God is the result of this one truth, really. Peace reside in oneness. It doesn't reside in duality. It reside in oneness. And when we understand that we're part of that oneness, then it means that what peace reside in us. It doesn't reside outside of us. It doesn't reside in false appearances. It doesn't reside in what the all of the images that the world will show us. Peace can't be legislated. And peace is not built on a compromise. Again, peace resides in the reality that reality cannot be threatened. That which is unreal, guess what? It can be threatened. Why? Because what? It in of itself is a threat to its own self. Remember, it's the opposite. It's the opposite of reality. And I hope this making sense to you guys and girls. And so, and so, right here at the very beginning of A Course in Miracles, it says that this is how the Course in Miracles begins, by based on this foundational statement that peace lies within the reality, that reality cannot be threatened, and that which cannot be threatened is all there is, and that which appear or give the appearance of a threat or the idea of a threat, he said it doesn't exist. So it's a false image. It's like an idol or idolatry, which has to do with false appearances. And so it says this is how the Course in Miracles begins. This is the fundamental foundation from which the Course launches all of its ideas. So we have to hold fast. If you're going to really understand what the Course is saying, you have to hold fast this reality that nothing real can be threatened. So even here in 2022, reality is not threatened by everything that has happened all of these thousands of years. These things are just running their course. Change, or the appearance of change, runs its course to what it runs out, until it runs out. And so, as it was in the beginning, it remains that way for now, and what forever shall be. Reality remains as it always has been. God remains as it always has been. Love remains as it always has been. And why are we going through these lessons? Because we need to know that what we remain as we always have been. We remain as God created us. We remain the loving self that we are. Why? Because we share the one loving self that God is, that cannot be threatened. When will we embrace our invulnerability? When will we accept the fact that we are impregnable? When will we accept the reality of our oneness with all of creation? Therein lies what? The peace of God. It's in a knowing. It comes through revelation. And we're bringing forth this revelation. And so this is how the Course in Miracles begin. It makes a fundamental distinction between the real and the unreal. It makes a fundamental distinction between the real and the unreal. It says the real cannot be threatened. It says the unreal does not exist. So if it does not exist, there's nothing what there's nothing, and if reality can't be threatened, then that means what? There's nothing to fear. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing to what be concerned about. There's no need to what? There's no need to develop anxiety over anything. Reality shall prevail. God says, many are the plans to make, many are the desires, many are the illusions, many are the what, hallucinations that are in a man's heart. He said, but what? It's only the purpose of God that shall prevail. Only timelessness shall prevail over time. Only formlessness shall what prevail over the form. So what? The content is more important than what? The form. And the content here is what? Nothing real can be threatened. The content is what? Reality. And so it makes a fundamental distinction between the real and the unreal, between knowledge and perception. So here you see it's presenting a case of opposites, and in reality, there are no opposites. But since there's a idea of opposites, it's going to address it from it's going to address that from that idea. And so from the idea, it says there has to be a distinction between the real and the unreal, knowledge and perception. So knowledge or knowing is a difference than what perception, because perception has to do with duality. Perception has to do with object and subject. Perception has to do with what? Interpretation. In knowledge, there's no interpretation. There's no need to interpret anything in true knowledge. Only in what? Perception is interpretation. It says knowledge is truth. See? Under one law, the law of love or the law of God. It says truth is unalterable. Reality is what? Unalterable. So this kind of describes reality, or it gives you the qualities of reality or the characteristic. It says that it is what? Truth, it is knowledge, it is one law, the law of love and law of God. It is unalterable. It is eternal. Meaning what? It's what's always has been, always will be. It says that it is under one law. It's eternal and it's unambiguous, meaning it's not a smorgasbord of choices. It's not a differences. It's unambiguous. It says that it can be unrecognized. Reality can be unrecognized by a mind that believe in separation. But reality cannot be changed. It can be unrecognized but not changed. The truth can be unrecognized, but it can't be changed. You can say, hey, I'm not the daughter or the son of John Doe, when science tell you that you are the son of John Doe, all the DNA and all the testing. But you can what? From a belief, because you want to separate from being that parent, from being identified with that parent, you can say, I am not John Doe's daughter or John Doe's son. You can say it until you turn green or blue or purple, but it doesn't make it true. It's unalterable, the fact that John Doe provided provided the necessary ingredients for your body to be formed. And you can, again, deny it all you want. You can not recognize that as your parents, but in reality, you can't change it. And so it says it can be unrecognized, but cannot be changed. Reality, it applies to everything that God created. So God only creates reality. Love only creates reality. We don't. Nothing else does. It says, and only what God creates is real. Only what God creates is real. So anything outside of the creation process is not real. It would have to fall into the category of something that was made up or made. Okay. So it is beyond learning. Reality is. Okay. It's not something that you learn. It's beyond what can be learned. It said because it is beyond time and process. Reality is beyond time. It's beyond a process. A process. Okay. It is what it is. It's timeless and formless. That which is informed takes a process. But reality, there is no process. Okay, process is it's a made up idea. It said it has no opposites. Reality has no opposite. So that which is real cannot be threatened. Why? Because it has no opposites. You would take opposites or opposition to be threatened. There is no opposites in reality. It says there is no beginning and there is no end. In other words, you cannot find where reality began. Search the universe over and you will not find the beginning of life. or the beginning of God or the beginning of love. Why? Because it has no beginning, has no end. It's eternal in its nature. In other words, it always has been. That is beyond what the natural mind can what? Can grasp. That's why I said it is beyond learning. Reality is beyond what the finite mind can what? Can hold. It's beyond that. And so it says what? It has no beginning and no end. And it concludes that what reality merely is. It is. It's presence. It's always present and it's always everywhere. And it what it contains or it what feels all things. Reality. It feels, it pervades everything because it is what everything. And it's not what but one thing. It's not multiple things. It's just the one thing. Love pervades everything. And it's not multiple things. It's the one thing. And so that is what reality, that's the characteristics of reality. And so the course makes a fundamental difference. That this is what reality is. He said, but on the other hand, the world of perception, notice now, the world of perception, which is posing as a what? Opposition to reality. The world of perception. So how did the world of perception come into existence? How? And that's what the question that the ego will ask and have you to ask and try to figure out. And you're asking a question that can't be what figured out. So the ego will send you on a prodigal journey to try to figure it out. Let me go out into the world and find out how this thing happened. And you notice no one have found out how it happened. The course just says what into eternity past. In eternity past, there crept into the mind a tiny mad idea of separation. Didn't explain how, but it says what that crept into the mind. Into what mind? Humanity's mind. That which God created's mind. It crept in. What? How could it creep in? It could only creep in. What? Not as a threat, but what? One would have to fall asleep and be dreaming of this, because in reality it can't happen. One would have to what? Drug himself so badly that it would begin to hallucinate of something that is what opposite to reality. I love the course. I love it because it gets down to the what? Nitty gritty. Nitty and the gritty. And so it says the world of perception, on the other hand, or is there an other hand? So the other hand would have to be what? Something that is not real. So the world of perception is not real. The other hand is not real. It says, on the other hand, is the world of time, of change, a world of beginnings and endings, which is the world that we have all experienced and we still experience. It is based on what? Interpretation. See? Notice now the truth is not based on interpretation. It is just is. Reality is. It's nothing to be interpreted. It is what it is. It merely is. It says that the world of perception, on the other hand, is the world of time, of change, of beginnings and endings. We're very familiar with that. It says it is based on interpretation and not on facts. Whereas in reality is based on what? Facts. In other words, reality is a matter of fact. It's a matter of fact. You say, well, it's not a fact. Look what's happening in the world. I say, well, you know, what are you looking through? What lens are you looking through? Is it eternal? Is it what? Alterable? Does it have beginning and end? Does it come and go? You say, yeah, everything in the world's changing. Well, that's an indication that it's not real. It says, and that is not a fact. Why? Because it's changing. Facts don't change. Facts do not change. It says temporary things that are temporal, they change all the time. One of the writers in the New Testament said, "What look not at the things that are seen, okay, with the eyes or perceived." It says, or in the perceptual world, it says, but the things that are what not seen. How do you look at that which is not seen? That means you what? You have to be looking from it with an eye beyond your natural eye. It says, because the things that are seen are temporal, are subject to change. But the things that are what not seen are what eternal, meaning they're changeless, they're unalterable. So how do you see those things that are changeless and unalterable beyond using these two things in our head that call eyes? So that tells us that real seeing is not seeing with the natural eye. Real seeing is only seeing from a point of view of truth or reality. Oh, excuse me. That hit me right here. That hit me right here. Truth and reality is the only thing that brings what? Real sight. God calls it vision. God calls it vision. And then one of the Old Testament prophets says, what without it, without vision, what the people perish. They faint, is what perish means. They have no hope. They are joyless. They are fearful without vision, without what the point of view of reality or truth. There is no sight. There's nothing to see. So what we see with these eyes, from a point of view of separation, that's the unreality. That's the unreal state that it talks about here. That is the world of change and time, and beginnings and endings and interpretations. It's not on facts. It is the world of birth and death. See, these are all characteristics of that which is unreal. It says it is the world of birth and death, founded on the belief in scarcity, loss, and what? Separation. And death. Based on it. That's the foundation for which this world what arose. It says it is learned. In other words, we've been conditioned, and it's not given. What was in creation was given. And what was given? Everything was given. God gave it all. And he called what he gave you and me. So we are the receivers of it all. In reality, we are the receivers of it all. All things are ours. Paul said it in his writings. All things are ours. And so unreality is very, very selective, unlike reality, which is unambiguous. But in unreality, it's like we got a menu we choose from. Because remember, the world has given us an appearance that love and God in reality have broken into millions and billions of pieces. And we're part of that million and billion of pieces in the forms of bodies, which is a false idea. It's not real. It says it's selected in its perceptual emphasis. Perceptual emphasis. This is the perceptual world, the world of interpretation. It said it is unstable in its functioning. We know about the instability that's in the world. Look at 2022. The world is very unstable. Countries, governments, economies, people, places, and things, all unstable. From the point of view of separation, from the point of view of being a threat to reality. It says, unstable in its functioning and inaccurate in its interpretation. In other words, the way we interpret the world from this point of view is very inaccurate because we're interpreting from a point of view that does not exist. And it says from this knowledge, and so from this reality and unreality, it says, or from knowledge and perception, or reality and unreality, respectively, two distinct thought systems arises which are opposed in every respect. So you get the thought system of the ego that is based on the point of view of that which is not real. Then you got the what? You got the thought system, or what we call Christ consciousness, or God consciousness, or the thoughts of God, or system of thinking that arises from truth or knowledge, which is what we are engaged in here in these course lessons. And it says, in the realm of knowledge, no thoughts exist apart from God. God is the only knowledge there is. No wisdom, no knowledge, and all truth comes from the one source based on reality. It says, because God and his creation share one will. That's our reality. He said, the world of perception, however, is made by the belief of opposites and separate wills in perpetual conflict with each other and with God. What perception sees and hears appear to be real because it permits unto awareness only what conforms to the wishes of the perceiver. This leads to a world of illusions, a world which needs constant defense precisely because it is not real. So, right at the beginning of the course foundation, it makes a fundamental distinction between reality and unreality. And so all of the content within the course, all of the content within each one of the 365 lessons is to help us what? To come to an awareness, to become conscious of that which is real and that which is not, because it is in our ability, and we have the ability, is in our within our ability to train. It is in our ability to come to know that which is real, and to allow that to become our point of viewing everything, to allow that to become the foundation for which we that we from which we perceive everything. And that's what this course is all about, that our perception in the past has been based on that which is not real, which you call false perception. In fact, it says this world, that what the word world means is what? It's just a false perception, the false appearing real. Okay, then it goes on to say, well, that it is an illusion in the sense that it is misrepresenting reality. And that's where most of us, majority of us, I would say 99.9% of us, we start out being trained in that system of unreality. And so we develop this world that we meet. So we develop the world that we see based on that belief system. And that's why you have the multitude of countries and people and diversities of religions and systems and cultures. And I mean, the whole ball of wax was made as a result of this being embracing this idea of separation as the truth, embracing unreality as reality, and building a world based on that. Thus, you see the world we made. But that was only by choice. But what we're learning is what we can choose again. You can choose, I can choose to wake up to the reality of the truth. And in so doing, you now perceive the real world, or a world that is synonymous with reality in your lifetime, in your incarnation. And so with that, that's how, and that explains what Jesus meant when he said, what? We are the light of the world. Why? Because we're in this world, but we're not of it. Why? Because in the world that was made through the eyes of separation, it's not real. So we're in it, but we're not of it. In the sense that we are providing light to it, to lead the whole false perception oh, to to lead the whole idea of the false perception, to lead others out of the false idea of separation, to help others to what wake up to the reality, to be transformed by the renewing of their minds. Now that my mind or your mind is renewed. And so now we can move back over to 130, and this lesson will make more sense as we go through it now. So when we talk about perception, the word perception, really it's about the process of interpreting our relationship with everything or everyone. How do we interpret that? And so it's based on a source or one source. And that source is the point of view or the lens from which what we're perceiving, the lens from which we what are interpreting what we see. Very important. Very important. So if one looks through the eyes of hatred, the world will present a world of hate. If one looks through the eyes of love, the world will what? The world will what? Project a world of love. Okay? Because remember, the world is, of itself is nothing. It is what we project, it's what perceive it, what comes out of your and my mind. We are the what we are creating, or we're miscreating all the time. We don't get not to sit on the sideline and not be involved with creation because what that's in our nature. It's in our nature. That means that if you just decide to what stay in bed, pull the covers over your head, that means that you're still not uh, on the sideline of creating for that day. You are creating. You're just creating a experience of what being in the bed and with the cover over your head. I know that sounds comical, but I'm trying to make a point. So again, perception versus what? Knowledge. I desire knowledge over perception. The course is saying you want to desire what? Knowledge or knowing over perception. If I put two doors before you and say, what's behind door number one? What's behind door number two? Without knowing, you had to what? You got to perceive, you got to guess, you got to interpret. Well, something, and you use whatever comes to mind to try to guess what's behind door one and two. But what if I took you behind door one and two and let you see what's behind it and then brought you out front and I say, what is behind door one and two? Now you can speak from what? Knowing with confidence and certainty. That's what's back there. But with not knowing, you can only what? Interpret or try to what? Perceive what's back there based on other influences. It's a guessing game. Uncertainty is what it's called. So it is impossible to see two worlds. It's impossible to see two worlds. So what it's saying here, it is impossible to see reality and unreality. We're either seeing one or the other at all times. So it says perception is very consistent. The process of perceiving is very consistent. Because what we perceive is what you see. That's what it's saying. It says what you see reflects your thinking. The way we think will be a direct extension of what? Of how we see. So everything starts in our thinking. What thought system? Remember we talked about reality and unreality. What brought rise to what? Two different thought systems. One based on reality, one based on unreality. So here it says that what we see reflects the thinking. So the way we perceive or the way we see, the way we think will influence what we see. So there has to be a choice of what? how we think. And remember, this whole training, this whole 365 days, this whole 1 year commitment we've made is about what? Changing the way we think, reversing the way we think, undoing the way we have thought, so that we what? So that it leaves only the way that we want to think, the mind of Christ. Okay. And so what you see reflects your thinking. And your thinking but reflects your choice of what you want to see. What is it that we want to see? It says that our thinking is but a choice of what we want to see. It says your values are determiners of this. What are your values? What do you hold dear? Do you hold love dear? Do you hold oneness dear? Do you hold an image of yourself that is pure and whole? Do you hold an image of yourself based on how you were created and by the source of your creation? Or do you hold what? A self concept of yourself based on separation, based on what? Based on your body identification, based on your conditionings, what you've been told, based on your experience. Do you still hold that what uh, value? Do you value that? Do you value the person that you made, or do you value that reality that God created called you? It says your values are determiners of this. And what you value, you must want to see. So, what we value as ourself determines what we want to see. It says, believing what you see is really there. So, no one can see a world that their mind has not accorded value. So, we see a world based on our values. And our values are based on what? Based on reality or unreality. So if our values are based on unreality, which the course says does not exist, so our values is based on what? An illusion, a misrepresentation, a false idea. But if our values are based on reality, on the fact that what we are one with the what with the whole universe. We are one with the creator of the universe. That we are one with truth, one with the law of God, that we're unalterable, that we're what eternal, that we're unambiguous, that we are changeless, that we are created by the one God, that only God in love creates reality like itself, uh, that we that what who we are is beyond learning, that we are beyond time and we are beyond space, that we're timeless and formless beings, that we're innocent, that we're holy, that we're complete, that we're holy, that we're just like our Father, we're just like our Creator, that there is no opposite, no beginnings, and no end, that we merely are. Is that what we believe about ourselves? Because what it's saying here, that's what we will see. It says, no one can see a world that the mind has not accorded value. Is that the value we hold of ourselves? Well, up until now, it may not have been, but as we go through this course, this is what we're embracing because we realize that this is our reality. It says, and no one can fail to look upon what he believes that he wants. So the world that you see is the one that you want based on the values that you hold. But if the values that we hold are not true about who you are, if you believe you're a sinner, if you believe you're separate, if you believe that all the differences that the world and the appearances that the world give us, if we believe that there's one nation over another, or there's one people over another, if you believe in inequality, if you believe in supremacy, if you believe in all of these made up, man-made, uh, insane ideas of separation, then that is the world that you will see, and that is the world that you will experience. But you can wake up from all of that just by the knowledge of the truth. And so, yet, who can really hate and love at once? It's impossible. It says, who can desire what he does not want to have reality? It says, who can desire what he does not want to have reality? And who can choose to see a world of which he is afraid? Who can choose to see a world of which he's afraid? Fear must make us blind. And it does. Fear makes blind. It causes us to see that which is not there. It says, "For this is its weapon to blind us to the reality." That's fear's weapon, to put a blinder over reality. It says, "That which you fear, you see, you cannot see." It says, "Love and perception thus goes hand in hand. But fear covers up or obscures in darkness what is there." Fear covers what is there. What is there? We talked about it in earlier lessons. Love's presence. What is there? Your reality. Fear covers it up. In the New Testament scriptures, it says, "What there is no what? There is no fear in love." Why? Because fear has torment. Fear threatens. Remember now, in reality, it can't be threatened. So what we see is that we have played the game of separation. And that game of separation causes us to see a world that we do not really want. It causes us to see a world that we think is the only option. It causes us to see a world that we think is reality. And so it blinds us to what reality. It says, "What then can fear project upon the world? What can be seen in darkness that is real?" Nothing. Nothing can be seen in fear that is real. Through the perception, through the lens of fear, through sin consciousness and guilt, nothing can be seen that is real. What can be seen in darkness that is real? Truth has eclipsed. Truth is eclipsed or covered up by fear. And what remains is but imagined. So now we go over into vain imaginings. We go over into hallucinations. We get over into what idolatry. We get over into false perceptions. We get over into dreaming of separation. And that's what this whole world was based on, as we see it from that point of view. And so it says, "Yet what can be real in blind imaginings of panic born? What would you want that this is shown to you? What would you wish to keep in such a dream?" Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We desire nothing that this world offer us from that point of view. We desire none of that. We've experienced all of it, but we desire none of it. But we've only experienced it because that's the way we have perceived, because we have embraced the unreality of separation, and we have played the game. But it has caused us so much pain and suffering that it has what at least awaken us what it has awakened a giant in us to say what there must be a better way, and there is the only way. And it comes through what? A shift in our perception. It comes through what? Forgiving, for giving up one perception for another. It comes through undoing a thought system of separation and embracing that which is revealed after that which is undone, and that is reality or truth, which is the loveliness that we so desire, the peace, like it says, therein lies the peace of God. The peace that we've been looking for was always underneath that which we had obscured, that which we have veiled, that which we have covered through a thought system of separation. It was all in our minds, all in the mind. And that's why we are spending 365 days renewing the mind to reality. It says, "Fear has made everything that we think that we see." All separation. This is what fear does. A world of separation, a world of distinctions. You got all the multitude of distinctions. All the multitude of differences you believe make up this world. They are not there. That's not true. There's only the one. Every hundreds of billions and millions and trillions of differences that we see in the world, that only is there through the eyes of separation. But when we look through the eye of the Spirit, as Paul said, or as Jesus said it this way. He said, when the eye is single, when the eye is single, I mean, when the eye looks through reality, the whole body is what? Full of light. That's why there's only one. And so here it says, it said, they're not there. Love's enemy has made them up. What is love's enemy? Love has no enemy. That's what we think. There is not an enemy. There's an inner um, vision or inner sight, but there is no enemy in reality. Why? Because what? Reality cannot be threatened. So there's no enemy. So even the idea of an enemy, we made it up. It says, yet love can have no enemies. Oh, here it is. See, love can have no enemy. And so they have no cause, no being, and no consequence. So unreality has no cause, no being, and no consequences, as it would have us to think that it is. It says they can be valued but remain unreal. Remember, reality can be unrecognized, but it can't be changed. We can value nothingness, but it doesn't make it real. We can make a self that is different than how we was created, but it doesn't change reality. You can deny who you are and live totally in opposition to your reality as the loving being that you are, but it still doesn't change your reality. In other words, all the suffering and the pain, all of the anguish that we have experienced, it's all unnecessary. It's not required, unlike what we've been conditioned to, and taught and thought and still taught in certain religious community, that God requires you to suffer. God requires you to go through things. God requires you to be pain. We put it all on reality, and that's not true. You're doing it. We're having those experiences because that's the way we're believing. We believe in a what? We believe in a unloving Father that will require that. They say, and then we say, well, look what he did for Jesus. If he did to Jesus, do it to us. He didn't do anything to Jesus. God didn't require nothing of Jesus. Jesus made his choice to demonstrate to us reality versus unreality. That was his own choice. It wasn't about a sacrifice. God doesn't require sacrifices. God doesn't require anything. Jesus knew he was one with the Father. Doesn't require it. But I know where it came from. You know where it came from. But that doesn't make it real. Because in reality, it doesn't come from anywhere. It is. It merely is. It says, they can be sought, but they cannot be found. Today we will not seek for them, nor waste this day in seeking what cannot be found. And what is it can't be found? Unreality. It cannot be found. It says, it is impossible to see two worlds which have no overlap of any kind. Seek for the one, and the other disappears. Turn the light on, and darkness disappear. Turn the light off, and what? Darkness appears. They don't overlap. It says, but one remains. Seek for one, and the other disappear. But one remains. They are the range of choice beyond which your decision cannot go. There's no third choice. There's no fourth choice. Either we are embracing reality, or we are dreaming in the space of unreality. That's the only choices. Either we are uh, aware and engaged in truth and knowledge, or we are experiencing false perception. There's no other choice. It says that the real and the unreal are all there are to choose between, and nothing more than these. Today we will attempt to know Today we will attempt no compromise where none is possible. The world you see is proof that you have already made a choice as all embracing as its opposite. What we would learn today is more than just the lesson that you cannot see two worlds. That's one lesson. You can't. It says it also teaches that the one that you see is quite consistent from the point of view from which you see it. Those are the two lessons today, that you can't see two worlds at one time. And that the one that you see is based on the point of view. It's based on what you're looking through, reality or unreality. There's no other choice. You either sleep or you're awake. You're not sleeping, you're awake. Yo, you either sleep or you're awake. You're either pregnant or you're not. It's a fact. It's a matter of fact. You're either God's in what God is, or you are not. You either have equality like Jesus with the Father of all creation, or you don't. You're either a love creation or you're not. You're either an eternal being or you're not. What do you say? Like Jesus said, what do you say? Who do you say that I am? Like God came to the garden, he said, Adam, what do you say? Where are you? I ask you today, 2022, what choice have you made? Are you the express image of God himself or you not? Are you the innocent, holy home of God or you not? Are you one with God or are you not? Are you one with all humanity or are you not? And so it is all a piece because it stems from one emotion and reflects its source in everything that we see. So today we're going to devote our mind and our time, our devotional time, our meditation time. The lesson, the practice today is devote 6 times today to think and thanks and gratitude uh, that today is the end of compromise and doubt, and that we go beyond them all as one. We will not make 1,000 meaningless distinctions, nor attempt to bring with us a little part of unreality, mix a little unreality with reality. It says, and we will devote our minds to finding only what is real. Only what is real. And I went through the characteristics of what is real. What's real about us? It says, begin our searching for the other world by asking for strength beyond our own. So we're going to ask and open ourselves up and welcome the strength that is beyond this, this, that which we have made. In other words, we're asking for our reality to strengthen us and recognize what it is that we seek. So we're asking God to share with us, make it clear and plain to us, this world that we only desire, this world of this reality that we desire to know, to engage in, to experience, and to express and share. So we ask for the help that we need in understanding. It says, we do not want illusions. And we come to these, we're going to, it's asking us, it's requiring us to spend 6 times today, 5 minutes, 6 times. We come to the 5 minutes time of the day, emptying our hands of all the petty treasures of this world that we have embraced, that we have given value to. And we will wait for God to help us as we say these words. It is impossible to see two worlds. Let me accept the strength God offers me and see no value in this world, that I may find my freedom and my deliverance. Freedom from illusions, deliverance from illusions and idolatry. It says, God will be there, for you have called upon the great unfailing power which will take this giant step with you in gratitude. Nor will you fail to see his thanks expressed in tangible perception and in truth. So expect to get understanding today. It says, you will not doubt what you will look upon, for though it is perception, it will not see the kind, it said, it is not the kind of seeing that your eyes alone have ever seen before. And you will know God's strength upheld you. And you have made this choice. So it's a matter of a choice. So choose once again that we open ourselves up and embrace through the strength of our Creator, understanding that we may what perceive correctly, that we may what understand correctly, that we must what that we may comprehend correctly. Only reality, only through the perception, only through the point of view of reality. It says, dismiss any temptation today easily whenever it arises, merely by remembering the limits of our choice. There's only two: reality or unreality, the unreal or the real, the false or the true. The false or true is what we see and only what we see. Perception is consistent with our choice, and hell or heaven comes to us as one. So our choice of reality brings on a what? Brings on a world or a heavenly place. Like Jesus said, we have been what? We are with him in heavenly places. Well, why haven't we seen that? Why haven't we received that? Because we've made a different choice. Well, today we make a choice for what? That which is real, that which is true, which is heavenly places. There's only two choices. It says, accept a little part of hell as real. In other words, if we embrace any part of unreality, we're embracing it all. Love is total. God is total. Truth is total. So we have to let go of all that we have given credence to and value that we know is not true. And so it says, accept a little of hell as real, and you have damned your eyes and cursed your sight. It says, and what you will behold is hell indeed. Yet the release of heaven still remains within your range of choice to take the place of everything that hell will show to you. All you need say to any part of hell, whatever form it takes, is simply this: whatever arises in your day that would entice you, tempt you to say, just take a little bit of this unreality. It ain't gonna hurt you. Believe in it. It says, say to it, it is impossible to see two worlds. I seek my freedom and deliverance, and this is not a part of what I want. And you have to be emphatic about it. Because the appearances of this world will offer you and bamboozle you to believe that you are not what God created. Even the religious community will mesmerize you to believe that it is not possible, that you're not perfect, you're not complete, you're not whole, that we're sinners saved by grace. Those are the kinds of things that have you to take a little bit of unreality. And he said, when you take a little bit, you've taken it all. Before you know it, you're sitting in a corner feeling bad, not seeing yourself as God sees you. Why? Because you think there's multiple choices, and there's not multiple choices. There's only two choices. In reality, there's only one choice. Why? Because even our choice for unreality doesn't change anything. So why don't we just jump on board and embrace the reality that we are what God has created and we remain that way, and that we are the light of the world, the holy home of God, and it's through our forgiving, it's through our forgiveness of this dream we have dreamed up and made up, the dreamer that's dreamed up and made it up, that from this point, in this very moment, everything changes. Why? Because I have chosen, once again, I have chosen my reality and my reality only. And so there are not, you cannot see two worlds. It's impossible. Like it says, there's only the one. And you are that one, the one and only one. You are the God. Like Jesus said, you're the God of this world. He said that in the beginning. He said, we are the gods of this world, to subdue and to control and to what? And to, you know, bring heaven on earth. That's what it's all about. And you are the heaven that is already on the earth. When you shift your perception to reality only. And so this was a good lesson. Thank you so much for being here with me. And I'm just so delighted that we continue on this journey, this upward journey of awareness and expanded consciousness. Thank you so much. I love you so much. Have a great day. Bye bye.